Cool. Well, it seems like we have most of the people who've registered on. So I'll go ahead and kick things off. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this virtual live Boulder Startup Week session. This is Marketing the Marketer with Saylor. So I'm very excited to get things kicked off. My name is Ben Travis. I'm this year's marketing track captain, as well as a marketing manager at Bonusly here in Boulder. And this year's Boulder Startup Week is a little different than past years, if you've noticed. So we're adapting through a 100% digital event with a theme of service to community. This session will be uploaded to YouTube for reference in the future. And before we start, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors for making this happen. So many thanks to Techstars, Honey, Name.com, Downtown Boulder Partnership, and CU for their sponsorship, for their sponsorship of Boulder Startup Week. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. I'd like to also introduce Saylor. So I've known Saylor for a while. We had coffee right before all of this hit. And I know that you're in for a treat. Saylor is a sales and marketing veteran with over 15 years of experience. She's worked with nonprofits and for-profits, as well as enterprise and startup environments. And Saylor recently joined Nihilus as their Senior Solutions Marketing Manager. So Saylor, take it away.
Thanks, Ben. All right, I just need you to swap me out so I can share my screen.
I will attempt to do that. Hold on one second.
So while Ben's doing that, welcome everybody to the very first section of the marketing track of this year's Boulder Startup Week. We are really excited that this year Boulder Startup Week has found a way to persevere and be able to move on in the digital realm. So thanks everybody so much for carving time to join. Welcome to Marketing the Marketer, 10 tips to hack your job hunt. As you can see, quarantine is getting to me, so I decided to forgo my usual Saylor Says aesthetic for something a little more neon. So you might want to grab your sunglasses as we move forward here. A little bit about me. My name is Megan Saylor Bowler. I am a marketer of tech, a connector of people, and a lover of doggos. I go by Saylor. I grew up in Baltimore and studied clinical psychology for my undergraduate. And shortly after graduating college, I fell into a 6-year property management career. And then later tried my hand at commercial real estate brokerage, which is a very salesy, very much you eat what you kill, commission only kind of cutthroat job. After some life changes and the loss of someone close to me, I decided I needed a shift, and I moved to Colorado to do sales for one of the nation's largest retirement community developers. I was there for also 6 years and weathered a recession and a corporate bankruptcy through that company. And in the lull following the recession, I decided to pursue my lifelong dream of backpacking. So in 2013, I rented out my house, sold my car, quit my job, and went backpacking solo in Central America, much to the excitement, aka panic, of my loving parents. I spent about 5 months there, really hoping to kind of find myself and get some professional clarity, because I'd been working at least one job almost every day of my life since I was 15 years old. And I felt that although I was doing things I was good at, I wasn't necessarily happy in my career. I came back from Central America thinking, oh, I'm going to have all the answers from this trip. And I basically wound up living in a rerun for 2 years. I moved back to Baltimore. I went back to my property management job. I came back out to Colorado. I got a puppy in the meantime. I worked in another retirement community. I was really just kind of trying to experiment. I even took a job as the director of events for the Denver Post, which I lovingly refer to as my summer internship, because I was only there for 3 months and one massive event before I decided that that just wasn't going to give me what I needed. It wasn't fulfilling what I was looking for in my career. So at the end of that summer, I took on a marketing job as an intern, making minimum wage, working 2 days a week at a tech startup in Boulder called Quick Left, now known as Cognizant Quick Left. And to supplement my almost non-existent income, I started working part-time as a recruiter in commercial real estate. And the moral of that story is use what you've got. In that internship, I spent 3 months leveling up on all things MarTech. The woman who extended the internship to me, Rachel Scott Beisel, is a mentor and a champion of mine today, which we'll get into what that means in a little bit. But she really gave me my first crack at marketing and taught me the principle of failing forward. Once I finished my interview, I spent a year being unemployed. I had all of this executive sales experience and all of this traditional real estate experience, but no one would hire me for a technical marketing role. It got to the point where I was so thin on funds that I was racking up credit card debt left and right. And I actually had gone from being on a 6-figure salary to being on Medicaid. So very, very humbling times. It was also at the end of that internship that I met my now husband. That's a story for another day. And the first year we were together, he saw me struggling and hustling and trying to figure out how to make it as a marketer without the traditional experience that most tech startups were looking for in a marketer. I joke that it took me 1 year and a week to land a dream job as a marketer for a SaaS startup. I went to work for a company called Switch Automation, which builds smart building software, and I was part of a marketing team of 2. I spent 3 years there doing all things marketing, from PR to blogging, social media marketing, product marketing, content strategy, fundraising, investor decks, events, you name it, all the things marketing. In the fall of this past year, my mom unfortunately succumbed to her 2-year battle with lung cancer, and I knew after caring for her that I would not be able to return to work to the demands of that intense job. So I resigned and took some time off. Over the winter is actually when I met Ben, our host today. And it's also when I discovered that being a stay-at-home mom of 2 teenagers is not for me. Not for me. Thankfully, my stepchildren are still alive. So is my husband, and so am I. But, it was touch and go there for a little bit. During my time off, I had been talking with a cybersecurity recruitment firm and wound up going to work for them in the middle of February. I spent a glorious 7 weeks as a marketing director for Code Red Partners, and then was very unfortunately laid off due to COVID. And as Ben mentioned, I have since been reemployed for a software company out of San Francisco called Nihilus, where I'm the senior solutions manager for them. And I actually start next Monday. So all that said, I've had a lot of experience in changing careers, in building a network, in relocating from one side of the country to the other, in breaking into new industries, in being laid off due to COVID and getting rehired due to COVID. And so the reason why I'm here today is to share some of that experience, strength, and hope with you all, so that if you're in that hole of job hunting, or if you're working for a place that makes you miserable, you're going to come out of this session with some tips to really level up your career and hopefully your life as well. So enough about me. You are in the right place if A, you're looking for a marketing job. 2, you're looking for a startup job. You're unemployed. You hate your boss. I won't tell. You hate your coworkers. I might tell. You loathe job hunting and would rather do pretty much anything else on the planet, including have a root canal, get a tattoo on your face, go out with a Tinder match that looks like your sibling, or quarantine with your ex. I'll pause a minute, so if anybody needs to leave, we won't judge you. Still here? Awesome. So I want to lead off with the 5 biggest job search mistakes, according to the book of Saylor, that I see and have made myself. So you've been wrenching on your resume forever. You've been tweaking it and updating it. It is now polished to succinct perfection. You're now ready to launch it upon society, right? Wrong. You might be spamming friends and family with this well-intended efforts. It might be LinkedIn connections. It might be potential hiring managers. You might be sending it out to info at or contact at emails. But I am here to tell you that blasting your resume to the universe without putting a solid intention behind it is about as ineffective as shouting into the void of space, hoping for an alien to respond. Or in marketing terms, trying to tweet at a company without using an at tag or a hashtag to garner some attention. Yes, some of these people love and care about you, but here's the thing. Everybody's busy. And aside from maybe your mom, no one has time to comb through your resume and try to discern what kind of job you're looking for, who to introduce you to, or even who the right person to forward your resume to is. So do them all a favor and stop spamming your resume. It's inbox vomit. And you're better than that. So don't worry, we will talk about alternatives in tip number 6. Job search mistake number 4, according to the book of Saylor, applying everywhere. Riddle me this. What do you think is the more effective way to buy a car? Visit every dealership in the Boulder, Denver area and have each one run a credit check just so you can take a test drive? Maybe visiting a handful of dealerships and having them run your credit? Or doing most of your research online ahead of time, making a few phone calls to the dealers with the best prices, and then visiting only one of them to make your purchase. Applying to a ton of jobs employs the same logic. Do you want to waste a ton of time personalizing your resume and rewriting a gajillion cover letters for each specific application, only to submit it along with hundreds of other people's and be swallowed by an algorithmic AI void? No. An efficient job search employs a much more tactful approach. So we'll talk more on that in tip 8. Job search mistake number 3, underestimating your worth. Going into the job market blind to your value will cause you massive problems. Never, ever, ever leave it up to a potential employer to determine your worth. Otherwise, you're likely to start out undervalued and underpaid. And this is a trend which will have compounding effects on your income and marketability for years to come. We'll address this one in tip number 9. Number 2, ignoring your network. Remember when I said not to spam your resume? This doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask for help with your search and leverage the resources available to support your goals. However, there's a tactful way to go about this. More on that in tips 5 and 6. And finally, number 1. Okay. This mistake is the worst one of them all. It is the root of all evil when it comes to your job hunt. Without a clear sense of direction and purpose, your search will lack the focus necessary to differentiate yourself from competing candidates. And we will cover this in tips 1 through 4. So, on to the good stuff. Now it's time to give the people what they want. You're here because I promised you 10 tips to hack your job hunt. These tips are all 100% born out of my own experiences, epic fails, wild successes, and I've tried to distill the last 17 years of job recon, interviews, networking, rejection, acceptance, career transition down to these nuggets. So I hope that at the very least, you're entertained, and at the best, they help you land the job that you deserve. So let's roll. Tip number 1, start with your why. As in, why are you looking for a new role in the first place? Disclaimer, I totally ripped this off of Simon Sinek. He is awesome. Watch his TED Talks, read his books, follow him on social. What I'm looking for here is not just, I was laid off due to COVID. I was laid off due to COVID too. In fact, the last year of my life has been kind of a circus. 2 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. 2 weeks later, I got engaged. I planned our wedding in 9 months while working on a marketing team of 2 at a globally distributed SaaS startup. And I was handling everything from PR to content, product marketing to marketing ops and analytics, sales enablement to customer success. And when I took a month of leave in October to care for my mom in Florida, she passed away. And afterwards, I knew I did not have it in me to go back to the demands of my former role. So I resigned. To get to why, you need to start with what. I had to consider some important questions well before I began to look for my next opportunity. What was not working? In my case, it was being spread thin across too many areas. And although I enjoyed all of them, I missed being able to appreciate the work and really sink into it. I missed the time to think and to be creative. Good enough wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to be great again. I also missed having time to connect with my colleagues. Eating lunch at my desk was becoming more and more the new normal, and I was beginning to feel like a machine, just churning out projects with not a lot of room for creativity. I was really longing to work more on product marketing, but there were too many other keep the doors open tasks on my plate, even though we had hired 2 additional people on the marketing team. I am sure that if you allow yourself some time to get still, the answers to these questions will bubble up for you the way that they did for me in those quiet moments when I was caring for my mama bear. But first, you're going to need to carve out some space in your life to get quiet and to listen for that inner guidance. You're going to want to ask yourself, what is or isn't working in my current or recent role? What is missing for me? What could I change? What would I change if I could? And what do I really need professionally to be happy? So here's an exercise. You don't have to do it now, but I want you to do it. Get a pen and paper, like an actual pen and paper, not your smartphone, not your laptop. Set a timer. You can use your phone for this. And set it for 2 minutes. Sit quietly looking at the questions on this slide, which I'll happily share with you after our presentation. And quietly look at these questions. Every time an answer comes to mind, write it down. I will suggest what to do with that in a bit. Tip number 2, build your dream job persona. Distill your dream job down to 3 sentences or less. Example is, I'm looking for a blank role at a blank startup in a blank area, preferably a series, whatever, or higher in the blank industry where I can apply my 3 key skills you'd like to be spending your days doing, experience. Now that you have started to wrap your head around the what and the why, it's time to build this dream job persona. The goal of this tip is to focus your intention on the opportunity you want and to get crystal clear, not just on what it looks like, but what it's going to feel like to be in that dream gig. You're going to need that clarity in order to practice discernment later on, which is where a lot of people get tripped up. This is going to save you a ton of time, frustration, and disappointment. Much like we create buyer personas based on our target audience that we want to reach, building your dream job persona is an exercise in both imagination and research. You have just spent time in tip 1 figuring out what you don't like and what you don't want in your dream job. So now it's time to focus on what you do want. Our goal here is to create an ideal role and company persona to help you filter and vet potential employers, and opportunities. So what are some questions to ask yourself when you're building out this dream job persona? Well, first, let's consider the role. What title are you looking for? What kind of responsibilities do you want to have in your new job? What compensation do you need to live without being stressed? What level are you looking for? Are you entry level? Are you intermediate? Are you managerial? Are you C-suite executive? And then what kind of qualifications do you have, and what kind of qualifications will you need for that dream job? How many years of experience? What kind of education background? What skills or certifications? What about projects and achievements that you might want to showcase? And then the company. How big is the company? Is it 5 people, Is it 10? Is it 50? Is it 500, 5,000, 100,000? Obviously, if you're in this session, you're probably looking at a startup company. But these are all great questions to ask, and perhaps you have a friend that might need to hear this too. In the startup world, you're also going to want to consider maturity. Are they in seed round, Series A, Series B, Series C? What kind of funding are they working with, and how scrappy are they? What's the culture like? What values do they embody? What's a mission that you're passionate about? Do you want to work in the B2B space or the B2C space? Do you want to be marketing a product, a service? Do you want to work for an agency where you might have a variety of different clients? And then what about the extras in your dream job? What's your commute look like? What kind of perks do you want? I know for me, if I can't bring my dog to work, they're off the list. Is it remote or is it in person? Do they have professional development support, PTO, benefits? These are the kind of questions that you're going to want to be considering. Once you've built your dream job persona, the goal again is to get back to distilling it down into 3 sentences or less. So I've given you a sample dream job summary. I'm looking for a social media marketing role at a B2B startup in the Boulder area, preferably a Series B or higher in the outdoor industry where I can apply my content marketing, paid advertising, and strategic planning experience. See, this is not too tough. This 30-second commercial, if you will, more like 10-second commercial, is what you're going to be using when you're building online profiles and when you're out networking, when you're asking your friends to help connect you with opportunities and leveraging your network. Before we get to that, let's talk about tip number 3. Level up where it makes sense. It's easy to get a little cert crazy and start taking every class imaginable online. But if you've done your homework with steps 1 and 2, you know why you want to make the change. You know what you're looking for, and you've got an idea of the persona of the kind of company and role you're looking for. So you can look at some of those roles out there on the internet and see what they're asking for and fill in the gaps that you may not have. You're going to want to do what you can to give yourself an edge over the competition and refer back to your dream job persona, which you should have written down when you're looking for these common qualifications, skills, and certs. The question in your mind should be, what can you do to meet the qualifications? And then what can you do to stand out above it? Here are some level up resources that I've aggregated over my years of trying and failing and succeeding. Google Analytics Academy, LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, lynda.com, Skillshare, SkillCrush, General Assembly, HubSpot Academy. There are tons of places to get certifications. Some of them, like LinkedIn Learning, have a subscription. Others cost a nominal fee or run specials, and others are free. HubSpot Academy, for example, when I was between jobs, I realized, oh, I've got a couple of expired marketing certifications. I went in to try to recertify for my marketing exam, and after I passed, I got an error message telling me that I needed a Marketing Pro subscription in order to do the projects and actually get the certification. I was mildly pissed. So I reached out to my former HubSpot rep, asked him if he would give me a free month of pro subscription so I could level up my certifications, mentioned that I'd been laid off due to coronavirus, and boom, he hooked me up. You don't get what you don't ask for. So make sure if you're finding roadblocks that you've exhausted every option to get what you need. Tip number 4, define your personal brand. This is probably one of my favorite tips. You can't sell you if you don't know you. What makes you unique? What lights you the F up? What's your walk-on song? What is your spirit animal? Use whatever sparks joy to Marie Kondo the crap out of building your personal brand. You're going to want to think about what really stands out here. Do you like dogs? Or do you have a one-eyed pug named Blinky who is on his way to becoming Instagram famous? Is there a certain aesthetic that resonates with you? Do you like bright colors, neutral tones? Are you dark and mysterious? What looks and feels like you? Pull inspo from your favorite video games, TV shows, Instagram accounts, TikTok videos. I have teenagers. What can I say? I could make a TikTok video about all the times in a day they try to show me TikTok videos. Whatever floats your boat. Throw on your favorite playlist and get the creative juices flowing, because This is what it's going to take to really get in touch with the you that you want to put out there to the world. It also never hurts to ask the people close to you, personally and professionally, how they would describe you in 5 words. Story time. Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away, it was a dark and stormy night. And if you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born. Bonus points if you can name the 3 famous story openers that those lines come from. Hint: Star Wars, Catcher in the Rye, a Snoopy book. My 5 words are outgoing, organized, irreverent, motivating, and prankster. And those aren't mine. Those are my friends, my family, my husband. What you're going to want to do when you're building out this personal brand is start creating some assets around this theme of you. The number 1 marketing tool to effectively sell yourself is your website. Use this to tell your story and showcase your talent in more depth. It's whatever you need it to be. On my website, I include an about section. I have a career section. I have some highlights of my portfolio, references and testimonials. I have a blog, and of course, a contact page. On your about page, this is where you're going to want to show off your personality and what makes you unique. But be concise. This section should be an introduction to who you are. Remember, this is a professional site, so don't include anything that would detract from your image to potential employers. Another tab is your career tab. This is where you can discuss any resume gaps, things that you don't have enough room to fit on a 1 or 2 sheet resume. You can highlight some stepping stones of your career, how you made transitions from one job to the next. What are some key achievements? You can link to your online profiles, which we'll talk more about soon, and your resume here. Instead of driving people to a LinkedIn page, you'll be able to drive hiring managers to your website where you control their journey about getting to know you. Testimonials are also helpful. A great shortcut I found in doing this is asking for LinkedIn recommendations and then using the content from those recommendations, repurposing it on my own website in my own aesthetic. This is a way to show off the great things that your peers, your bosses, and your direct reports have to say about you. It also makes it easy for potential employers to see why you rock in one consolidated place. For your portfolio, we are all busy. We all do a lot of work. Your portfolio is where you should be showcasing your best work. Again, keep it simple. Choose a variety of projects that represent the kind of work you'd like to be doing. Maybe ebooks, maybe white papers. Maybe you've got a strategic plan that you've written. Consider not just where you've been, but where you are going. I personally like to include a causes page on my website because it demonstrates my involvement and connection with the community. It also shows that I'm an authentic, real human being that cares about things in the real world, and that I maintain relevancy in our industry by keeping my fingers on the pulse of what's going on out there. I use my blog as a way to communicate to potential employers my writing, and it's their lens into what I am passionate about. For example, my blog currently has pieces on being a sales-driven marketer because I pivoted from a traditional sales career into a marketing career. And now that's a tremendous asset, especially working in product where I'm often the liaison between sales and marketing, making sure both teams' needs are understood and met. I also have something about how I leveraged these exact tips to land my dream marketing job thanks to a group called Women Who Start Up. There's also a blog item, a little something for the founders, aka the hiring managers that I want to notice me, which shows that I can think like them and understand the challenges that they face. That's a critical skill in marketing leadership, and those are the roles that I'm personally going after. So I encourage you to think about what kind of opportunities are you pursuing and what content can you produce that's relevant to those opportunities. Finally, do not forget to include a contact page and be clear about how people can get in touch with you. You want to make sure there is a buyer's journey easily laid out on your site so it's natural and intuitive for people to take that step. The ultimate goal is to get in touch because you want to start a conversation with potential employers. So here's a little teachable moment. I invite you guys to visit saylorsays.com. This is my personal brand logo. If you want to see my real aesthetic, not this neon madness today, take a look at this website. I had a great marketing director who often said, don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. I used to use WordPress for my personal website because I feel like that's what a good marketer should do. Because I was busy at work building my company's brand on WordPress, I rarely had time to check my own site. A lot of us marketers are guilty of being terrible at marketing ourselves, hence why this session is called Marketing the Marketer. A number of bloopers ensued as a result of this, like the time all of my images disappeared, or when the internet ate my portfolio, or my blog looked like it was recovering from a long night out of hard drinking. It was a real pain in the arse to keep up on all the themes and the plugin changes. And oh, hey, I've suddenly gotten out of my presentation. So let's get back into that. Come back. Sorry, guys. Went into slide sorter view. Nope, not that view. Let's see, normal. There we go. All right, hopefully it's back for you. So yes, what were we talking about? Bloopers? Oh yeah, I swear to God, that was not an intentional blooper. So keeping up on all these themes and plugin changes was really making me nuts. So a month ago, I rebuilt the entire thing in Wix because it's faster, easier to maintain, and it does not tax my sanity. Moral of the story, when building your brand, keep it simple. Don't should all over yourself, just get it done. And of course, enlist the help of your personal board of directors to give you some feedback. So more on that shortly. Tip number 5, put yourself out there. Now that you know what you're looking for and you've established a cohesive personal brand, it's time to start getting out there. As I said, you don't have to have a perfect website or know all the things about all the stuffs to put this tip into action. The goal here is to get found. Secondary goal, establish your credibility. If everywhere a potential employer looks for talent, they see your face and name, you've activated the principle of familiarity. People tend to develop a liking for those they interact with more often. It's basic psychology. There's that undergrad. We use it in advertising all the time. How often do you buy something because it's familiar? You've been seeing pop-up ads for it all over the place and probably haven't even noticed it. Hiring managers are swamped with resumes. We need to make their lives easier. They like it when we make their lives easier. Who do you think is going to catch their eye first? Someone they've never seen or heard of before, or a name they recognize from a local online or in-person community? This is where you're going to apply the principle of inbound marketing to your job hunt and use those consistent profiles to get found in the online scene. Once we're all free to roam about the world again, you're going to want to follow this up with some in-person engagements. In a digital age, engaging with people in the physical world, IRL, is actually something that's a key differentiator now. Some resources. Here are some places I found to build your online profile. Built in Colorado, LinkedIn, The Muse, Angel List, Ladders, Hired, Glassdoor, Fairy Godboss, Career Blitz. There's a ton of them here. All of these are live links that you can click on and check out after our talk. Networking groups, also built in Colorado. Networking groups for marketers, AMA, you've got General Assembly meetups, you've got Women Who Start Up, BMA, PRSA, meetup.com, and there are a ton of online specialty groups on Slack that you can avail yourself of. So, what not to do when networking? These are moves guaranteed to make you look lame. Most, if not all of these, I have done. 1, spell your own name tag wrong. My name is not Megan Saylor Bauer. Stand awkwardly in the corner staring at your shoes. Cute. Like it's a 6th grade dance. Not cute. Drink red wine without brushing your teeth first. Always brush your teeth. monopolize, dominate, or otherwise interrupt conversations, or hand out unsolicited business cards like a Vegas strip club barker. Don't do these things. It's not a good look. Story time. How I landed a breakout marketing role with the help of women who start up in Slack. I mentioned earlier that I had a really hard time finding my first real full-time marketing job. Even though I had had an 8-9 year career as a professional and was working at the executive level in sales, that didn't necessarily translate over to being a brand new marketer with 3 years of part-time experience. I had done some pretty cool things in my time with Quick Left because I had a great mentor in Rachel who let me try things, break things, and fix them. And I learned really, really, really fast. But I still didn't have the years of experience that a lot of employers were looking for. Some of the things that happened to me when I was out hunting for a job, I interviewed for a company that had a 6-page marketing director job description. And when I got into the interview, they offered a salary of $35,000 a year. That is some of what is out there, sadly. Not sustainable for me. And overall, a huge waste of my time. Why? Because I didn't vet the opportunity well enough ahead of time. Another pitfall that happened, and this has actually happened to me more than once, there's a fine line between interviewing and doing projects and doing spec work for free. Where I am in my career now, I do not work for free, and neither should you. I've interviewed with companies that asked me to do extensive projects only to not hire me and then me to see my marketing ideas in their marketing a month later. After a year of a variety of experiences like that, me interviewing companies and rejecting them, companies interviewing me and rejecting me, I decided I need to take a different approach. And so I really had to humble myself and ask for help. I felt really incompetent and insecure in my lack of experience as a marketer, even though I knew I could do the jobs. I was having a hard time figuring out how to translate that experience into a new role that could actually pay me what I was worth. So I joined Women Who Start Up and got on their Slack network and put a message out into the marketing channel saying, hey, I'm struggling. Here's my experience. Here's what's happening. Is anybody willing to have a coffee with me and help me figure out how to better express my experience to get the job I'm looking for? Within one day, I had set up 5 meetings. One of them was an ops director who just happened to be floating in that channel. She set me up to meet with her marketing director, who at the time was based in Australia. She said, if you buy her a coffee, I'm sure she'll answer your questions. I met the woman the next day before she was out to fly back to Australia. We had coffee. The following week, the CEO and the CTO happened to be in town. I had another coffee with them. By that Friday, I had a job offer, and the following Monday, I started work at Switch Automation. And I'll be forever grateful to them for giving me an opportunity to prove myself as a marketer. So that's the power of networking and being willing to humble yourself and asking for help and having the right channels to do so. Tip number 6, cultivate a personal board of directors. This is key, and not just for a successful job hunt, but for a successful life. Some of the people on my personal board of directors are the most valuable friends in my universe today. You're going to need at least one of each of these: a partner, a mentor, a champion, and a protege. So what exactly are those? A partner is a professional peer that's in a similar role to you, who can understand and empathize with where you are on your career path. These are your office buddies or your office spouses. These are your friends working in other companies that are going through similar situations, navigating similar politics, trying to level up in similar ways. These are people you might meet in your meetup groups that are doing the same thing as you. Be on the look for partners. These are people that might be able to connect you with opportunities within their own companies or introduce you to other people who are looking for staff. Next up, a mentor. This is a senior member of your industry who shows you how to do what they did to get where they got. A mentor offers actionable suggestions and informed professional guidance. This is the Obi-Wan. This is the person who has gone ahead of you and is going to teach you. Mentors should not be confused with champions. Champions are master networkers. This person will make introductions to hiring managers, connect you with their inner circle, recommend you for choice positions, bring you along to events with them. They are the angel of intros. And then finally, a protege. The best way I have found to learn and improve is to teach someone else. When Ben invited me to give this session, I had just accepted my job at Code Red Partners. When he confirmed that I was doing this session, I had just been laid off from Code Red Partners. And even though I was facing potentially giving this Marketing the Marketer 10 Tips to Hack Your Job Hunt session while unemployed, I knew I still needed to do it because I had experience to share. And I knew I would get better at job hunting myself if I took the time to sit down and spec out how to do it for other people. So get a protege. Giving back, you have to give it away to keep it in this world. This is a person who will seek mentorship and is a ready recipient of your knowledge and experience. No matter how inexperienced you are, you always have something to offer someone else. You just need to dig deep and figure out what it is. Tip number 7, leverage an authentic hook. This is not about being a tool, a fake, or a poser. This is not about deceiving people. This is about looking for the intersection of what you're passionate about personally and professionally, and then finding a way to be of service with it. Because as I said, you get back what you give. Ways to get involved are donating your marketing skill set as a social media manager, doing copywriting, graphic design, fundraising, event planning, public relationships, and my personal favorite, mentorship. When you get involved, it opens up doors for you than you wouldn't normally be able to open. When I was unemployed, I took a job as the vice president of mentorship, which is an unpaid volunteer role that the American Marketing Association had available. They'd never had a mentorship program before. And I thought to myself, well, I'm really struggling here. I haven't met a lot of people like me who are, in their 30s and changing careers and having a hard time figuring out what to do next. So maybe if I build a program, it'll help connect those people with the resources they need and the networks they need in meaningful ways. And in the process, I get to help myself and learn more too. I wound up being able to open doors to companies that I never would have been able to get an interview with. I talked to some of the C-suite and VP level professionals at some of the biggest companies and fastest growing startups in Colorado, both Denver and Boulder, just to sit down with them and ask them, how are you building your company culture? What matters to you when you're attracting and retaining talent? Would you be willing to serve as a mentor to an up and coming marketer? How about anybody on your staff? Is there anyone else that I should be talking to? Every single time I had 30 minutes or an hour with one of those executives, I never once mentioned that I was looking for a job, because this isn't about being a tool. It's not about being selfish. It's about giving back. Instead, what I did that made me memorable to those executives was I said, hey, look, I'm opening doors with a lot of companies just like yours. Is there anybody that you're having a hard time reaching? I invite you to troll my LinkedIn network. And if there's anyone that I can make a meaningful introduction with for you, executive, let me know and I'll happily do it. Believe it or not, none of them actually took me up on it. But I was in a position to do something that they couldn't do, even though I was maybe not as experienced as they were. So, tip number 8, this is getting into the nitty-gritty of really finding your dream job. Account-based marketing. This uses a highly targeted, personalized campaign to win business. We all know what ABM is. You can apply the same focused approach to landing your dream gig. Do this well, and prospective companies will see that you are the linchpin that they have been missing. Where can you stalk some of these companies? LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Crunchbase, Investopedia, Fairy Godboss, The Muse, Ladders, Angel List, Built in Colorado. You'll see these companies right now as sponsors at Boulder Startup Week, at Denver Startup Week, at Denver Digital Summit. Go to these events, look at them digitally, go to their job boards and see who's hiring. Companies are still hiring, even in the midst of a pandemic. Before I move on from ABMing your target companies, when you're doing this, you're going to want to refer back to your dream job persona. You're going to want to look especially at, how big is the company? What are their Glassdoor ratings and reviews? What are people saying about them in the interview process? What does their employee churn look like? How many open roles are they hiring for? How big is their marketing team? What kind of resources would you have? What does their funding look like? What are their benefits like? What would your commute be like? Not just the hard qualifications, if you will, but what are some of the deeper things? What can you find online about this company that tells the real story of how they're operating and how they're functioning in real time? Really dig deep to make sure that you're pursuing a healthy company and you're not going to just be hopping from one job to another because you've gone from the frying pan into the fire, from one disastrous or toxic environment into the next, or one unfulfilling environment into the next. There are lots of resources out there to do this, so make sure to leverage them. Tip number 9, know your worth. Ignore this at your peril. The power of compounding worth is a lot like interest. It is very real. And if you set the bar too low to start, you'll be struggling to catch up for your entire career. Unless, of course, you're willing to take a bit of a risk and game the system like I did. I hated my sales gigs, even though I made decent money. And when I went into marketing and first started, I had to take a massive pay cut. But within my first year, I negotiated a $20,000 pay raise because I was doing the work. Now, when I interview for jobs and someone asks me, can you disclose what you made in your last role? No. And PS, in January of 2021, that question is no longer going to be legal to ask. Well, Saylor, what do I do if I'm filling out a job application and they ask me for desired salary or salary history? What I do, I put my desired salary in every single salary line, because I've done my research on what that job is worth in the market when I did my ABM dream job work. And then I put a note in the comments before I submit my application saying, all salaries listed are target salary desired. And that's how I get around that. Because what I've made in my past jobs can and will be used against me to keep me in a place of inequality. It can and will be used against me to pay me less than what I'm worth. And it's nobody's damn business but mine. So that said, here are some negotiation tools and resources, because you can't negotiate if you don't know your worth. You can't go out into the market and confidently say, this is what I will and won't accept, without doing your research first. So here are a handful of different places you can go. Salary.com, payscale.com, Glassdoor, Indeed. They will help you assess your experience, your education, your skills, your tenure, all of those different things, and come up with a combined word cloud almost, if you will, of what your real worth in the market is. Use them, cite them in your interviews. Your potential employer won't have much ground to stand on if you've done your homework. This will also help you practice discernment and knowing when to walk away. God love my dad. He gave me some great advice in my life. He said, never be afraid to walk away. Don't fall in love with something so much that you'll compromise yourself and settle for it. Whether it's buying a new car, being in a relationship, getting a house, or taking a new job. Never fall in love so much with the idea of something that you are afraid to walk away. Because I guarantee you, if you settle up front, you're going to start off on the back foot and be behind the entire time you're there. That small point of friction will grow into a nagging resentment that you will be unable to leave behind. It will compromise your mentality, your sanity, and the quality of your work. I always tell potential employers, look, to me, salary is just a tool. I know what I'm worth in the market. This is what it is for this particular role. Let's get that conversation out of the way, because if we can't meet on this, then there's no need to move forward. For me, being compensated fairly means that I have freed up the mental space to focus wholeheartedly on the job that you're hiring me to do. Tip number 10, iterate and celebrate. Job hunting is like dating. It's rare that you're going to find your soulmates, or in this case, your dream job, on the first try. Consider every call, every meeting, and interview an experiment rather than an exam. Stay curious and adopt a fail forward mentality. So when you do land your dream role, you're going to be popping those bottles. Story time. When I landed my job at Quick Left, it was the day before mine and my husband's 4-year anniversary. And we had a bottle of champagne in the fridge. We popped it, got wildly drunk. He had recently had a knee surgery, so we sucked the helium out of all of his get well balloons and proceeded to sing 80s music at the top of our lungs with our teenagers as an audience. They thought we were insane. So let's get to some yabba questions. I call these yabba questions because it's short for yeah, but. Saylor, yeah, but. This is the part where I blow up all your excuses. So what if my dream company's not hiring? Look, nearly every job I've had for me was created before it was live. You might be the solution to the problem this company didn't even know they had. That's why leveraging your network and getting in the door is going to serve you. What if I don't have all the qualifications or experience required for my ideal job? See tip number 3, level up where it makes sense. What if I'm not sure what qualities I want in my dream job? Refer back to tip 1. Find out what you don't want. Try considering the opposite. Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Do something different and hold no expectations. See what happens. But what if no one will join my personal board of directors? Well, leverage tip 7 and use that authentic hook to open some new doors. What if I get rejected? Rejection's uncomfortable. Nobody likes it. No matter where you are in your career, you're always susceptible to getting rejection. Consider it not rejection, but redirection. Stay curious. Debrief with a trusted friend about what went well and what didn't. Always, always, always ask for feedback. What did the winning candidate have that I didn't? What if I gave myself bangs in quarantine and it's bad? Okay, so this one, bobby pins, maybe hats. Also, you might be able to use Zoom's beauty tool to like soften things a bit. And then what do I do if I've done all this and it doesn't work? Point blank, then you didn't do all this. I have a document that this presentation was actually born from, and it's a collection of resources, tips, tools, a whole bunch of other stuff that I couldn't even fit in here in an hour. And whenever anybody asks me, how do I get my dream job? What do I do next? I share that Google Doc with them. And there's a spoiler at the end of the Google Doc where I ask people a question, and that's how I can tell if they've actually read the whole thing. 9 times out of 10, if not more, I never receive an answer to that question. Do the things, put them into practice. It will work and you will land the job that you deserve. Your dream job's waiting. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Saylor. That was great. Thanks for sharing your experience and also making sure to give back during Boulder Startup Week. This is great. I love the practical feedback, starting out, focusing on yourself and your goals, thinking about your story and all of those tactics. That was great. I know that we are getting kind of close to the hour, but we did have some questions. So I wanted to ask those to you real quick, if that still works.
Sure, fire away.
Also, just real quick, wanted to second the power of grabbing coffee. And I think the phrase don't should all over yourself is something I'll be using from now on.
I'll throw up my contact information here in case anybody has questions we don't get to on the session. So feel free to reach out to me, guys. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, if you have resources that I didn't include in here, like I said, I've got this massive document. If you would like for me to share that with you, I'd be happy to do it. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Cool. So let's get started. First question is from Marcy Willard, PhD. As an employer, where would you recommend I seek out new talent, both online and in terms of networks?
I love that question. Thank you so much, Marcy. I hear a lot from employers that it's really hard to vet talent. And that speaks to that like hiring manager overload where it's like, I'm getting all these resumes, but how do I vet them? You know, where can I go to get a higher caliber of talent up front? A lot of our local niche community organizations have excellent job boards. Personally, I really favor Built in Colorado to access local talent because it draws from a lot of Denver, Boulder, and remote employees, and it allows you to segment the roles that you have based on specialty. It also allows you to showcase the benefits and perks that help differentiate your company to that upper echelon talent pool. So Built in Colorado is an excellent one. They also host live events when we're, like I said, free to roam again, and they're a great way to go and attend to meet people looking for jobs. The Boulder Startup Week and Denver Startup Week job fairs are actually excellent places to meet candidates who are eager to connect and to find their next big role. And then if you're looking for candidates in a specific specialty, maybe tap into some of their meetup groups. There are a ton of marketing meetup groups that share information. So Denver Marketing Mavens is a fantastic one. There are also a lot of LinkedIn groups online, and there are a lot of groups on meetup.com that you can just join and kind of see the conversations going amongst people looking. There is some great talent out there right now, and it is an amazing time to be an employer snapping up some of these gems of people.
Awesome. And Marcy says thank you in the comments. Yeah, definitely would second Built in Colorado. That's something that's kind of been a go-to for us for a long time, especially in the tech industry. Also, just a quick plug for Boulder Marketers, which is a marketing meetup that I run here in Boulder. One question from Michael Duncan is, do you have any tips for virtual coffee?
Ooh, yes, I love virtual coffee. So I'm gonna stop screen sharing here. One of the things for virtual coffee in terms of differentiating and making yourself more memorable, I'm a total goof, and it's really important to me that my personality is showcased. So when I'm having virtual coffee with folks, depending on how well I know them, I might pop up a ridiculous background like, that's my dog, Cairo. He is the best good boy that ever was. I might do things that are relevant in pop culture, like I'm sure you guys have seen this. And I think just being able to kind of do things that make yourself stand out. I also have another one that's it's on a different Zoom account, but it's more of my own aesthetic that follows the aesthetic of my website that I designed. So from a visual standpoint, stand out. When I'm inviting someone to virtual coffee, oftentimes I will send them an Starbucks gift card or an Uber Eats gift card so that they can order coffee and have their beverage in hand while we're hanging out. And I think that goes a long way in just thanking someone for the time that they're taking to meet with you. So Uber Eats, getting that coffee sent, and always sending a handwritten thank you note if you can. That works a little better when we know people are going to be in their offices, but for right now, an email will suffice. And I also follow it up with a LinkedIn connection request.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
Great
definitely
question.
helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, power of coffee is very strong even in these times.
That's how Ben and I met. I was actually interviewing for a job at Ben's company and withdrew from the application process because I had gotten a different offer. But Ben and I clearly have remained friends. I think the world of Bonusly, and I hope we continue to be friends and do marketing things together for a long time to come.
Absolutely. And let's see, one question. Sylvia asks, what do you mean by it will be illegal to ask for salary next year? This question is always asked in all of my interviews.
Yeah, so my mentor, Rachel, really gave me a lot of confidence in navigating this question. It has always pissed me off that people feel entitled to know what I was paid before, because that is in no way, shape, or form a solid indicator of what you should be compensating me for to do the job that I'm going to be doing at your company. What is, however, an excellent indicator is the role itself, the duties entailed, the experience that you're requiring, the education that you're asking for. And so if I go to the marketplace and plug all of those into those salary calculators, along with my geography, I'll have a great benchmark for what I should be making. And that's all the information that an employer really needs. So there was a law that was passed in Denver, I believe in 2019, or Colorado in 2019, where it will soon be illegal to ask for salary history from past employers. So then I'd be happy to share. I have to go dig out the link for that, but I'd be happy to share it with you, and we can send it out or drop it into the post-production video afterwards.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Sylvie. Great question.
As a quick follow-up, I know that you mentioned Rachel a few times. So Rachel Weitzel is CMO at Cable Labs, and will also be on a session on this Wednesday, which seems like a pretty natural next step after this one, called How to Grow Your Startup Marketing Career. So
You
I would
stole my thunder. I was totally going to plug that. Yes, Rachel, Simone Johnson, and Megan Espelond, who's a fabulous product marketer. Simone's actually connected with a lot of community groups. They're looking actively for marketers to volunteer their skills and time. I just got an email from them a couple days ago, if I was willing to mentor somebody with developing a marketing plan. So there are lots of opportunities to get involved, especially now when companies have limited resources and limited staffing. They need this help. It's a great time to find your authentic hook. And go to that session. It's going to be awesome.
Great. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Thank you for everyone who was able to stay on for a little bit longer. Really appreciate that. And of course, thank you very much again to Saylor for sharing these great, I don't know, I feel like tips isn't a good enough word. All this fantastic advice for finding a marketing job, which is something that I am very glad that we recorded so that I can reference back and send to other folks as well. So thank you, everyone.
That's very kind, and thank you all for joining. It's been my pleasure, and it's been good for me to have to distill all this down into a cohesive presentation. So thank you for that.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Take care.
Thank you.